Hey everybody, we are live. We are back. It has been a month and a half since the last time we've been live. So now we're doing the Loki after show, which we're isn't after yet. So it's kind of more we're doing this premiere watch party. So if you're watching along, don't forget midnight it drops so we could all talk about it afterwards, but we're going to be watching it with you. And I'm Mike Sandoval, just to reintroduce myself. And Malik, introduce yourself and tell them what you do.
I'm Malik Patterson, just recently graduated from Cal State Northridge. I'm still an intern over here at MUSE TV. There's a lot of different things. Sports is the main thing, entertainment, and then of course, we love me and Mike. We love our comics and we love our Marvel. So this
Exactly.
is amazing for us. I love it.
Exactly. And we've already done this for two shows. We usually have a third, but unfortunately she's recovering. Let's just leave it at that. So we're hoping within the next week or two she'll be back on the panel and be doing this again with us. And we hope Tatiana gets well soon because a threesome is always good in these types of things because we have more people to talk about what's going on. And that could have gone so bad, but but it's 11:30 at night. It is it, we're waiting for this. So let's talk about the upcoming show with Loki. You've seen the trailers, you've seen all everything that they've been pushing. What do you think is going to happen tonight in the premiere episode? What are your thoughts on where we're going to go with this?
For one, I think the premiere is going to be at least roughly 45 minutes because this is supposed to be their big like premiere show. Like I was telling my girlfriend, and I was also telling people who like in my family who kind of watch Marvel, but not really. I was like, for the Marvel shows, this was their bread and butter. Like I understand WandaVision was cool, Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be first, but this one is supposed to be their baby. This was supposed to be the one that they've nurtured and that they've tend to a lot. So I think this one is going to be the one. I hope at least. Um, Also with that, I think Loki plays an interesting role. He's still a villain, but I don't really consider him a villain as much per se anymore because he's kind of in that gray area of he's just trying to watch his own back now because he knows that there's people out there that it's stronger than him, better than him, and so it's a weird, interesting play, especially from the previews that I saw. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, from everything that I've seen so far, it seems like he comes back to be a part of this and you get the Loki that was in Avengers Endgame. So you know what that's going to be like. And he's like an anti-hero. Exactly. Jeffrey
Mhm.
puts it right every time. He's an anti-hero. People, I mean, you love to hate him, but he's a good person to be. But he's like that's the type of person that you want on your side when something goes wrong too. So that's I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a very good series. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just looking forward to seeing what happens, and I hope it is a 45-minute episode or an hour episode, and not like a little 30-minute episode like we've seen in the past. So I'm hoping that's the way it goes.
They usually give us a solid premiere episode. The premieres are usually one of the better episodes, and then one thing I never even noticed, but you kind of hit it on the head. The way that they do these, the way that Marvel's doing these shows, they start you off with the first two episodes, maybe even three episodes, depending on how long the show is, really good. Then they kind of taper it off in the middle, and then about if it's 10 episodes, about episode 7 or 8 is usually your best one, and then after that, it's kind of like a wrapping up, and then leading on to what's to come afterwards. So,
Exactly.
but usually the premiere episode are one of the better episodes for sure.
Yeah, and while we're talking, I'm checking to see if it's dropped already. Sorry if my voice kind of moved and just all this.
But
Sorry, I'm answering at the same time as we're talking.
it,
Uh, on the comments. So, but no, it hasn't come on yet. It hasn't dropped yet.
I also haven't seen any rumors. I've tried to stay away because I know the rumors have really kind of tainted a lot of people's perceptions on these shows. But with
Yeah,
this one, I tried to stay far away from the rumors of who's supposed to be the special appearances and all of that. I just kind of want to enjoy the show for what it is. I know after tonight, I know we're gonna get an onslaught all over social media of people's theories, the rumors, all of that, but I'm still trying to stay just what the show gives me.
yeah, and it's been hard for me as well because I've been trying to stay away from everybody posting who saw it on Sunday, Saturday or Sunday. There's people who in the press saw it,
Hmm.
and they got two episodes to see. So I'm waiting to see. I'm trying to stay away from everybody. I'm trying to stay. I don't want to know, and I know how it is because that's why. Like when we did the other shows for WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the reason why I jumped on at night and saw them at midnight because I knew as soon as I wake up in the morning, I'm going to see discussion. I'm going to see people talking. And that's why I was kind of like, I don't want to see this. I want to be fresh. So I got to see it at midnight. And that's why I decided to, and I wanted to talk to you about it and see, hey, let's come on in at midnight. Let's see what happens and let's see who we get on. And yeah, and we have Jeffrey Harris watching us right now, and he's on the chat. So if you want to come in, you're more than welcome. Jeffrey Harris is my co-host in This Week in Pro Wrestling, and we talk a lot about wrestling. That's every Thursday at 5 o'clock. But I got to talk to him about that because we may have to push it for this week or push it to Friday, but I'm not sure yet because of me and Malik may actually be at SoFi Stadium on Thursday for the Rams game. Well, what's not the game? It's more like it's the last first practice session and everything, and then they start practicing again in June at UC Irvine. And I just found out that they opened up the practice to the people this time in UC Irvine, so we'll be able to watch it again. But we're not talking sports. We're talking Loki. We're talking Marvel, and with like it like this week, it's been a good week for Marvel.
Hmm.
We saw the event opening of Avengers Campus. Was supposed to go on Monday, well, yesterday, and decided to not go because there was a. I look at all the I look at what people were posting 6 hour wait in the standby line to get into Avengers Campus at Disney's California Adventure.
Wow, 6 hours. Yeah, no, I
And
love it,
the
but
only way you could guarantee without waiting for 6 hours is to get your go into the virtual queue, get your pass for Spider-Man Web Slingers, and that's how you could get into Avengers Campus.
that's
But they
even
have a lot of characters though, from what I hear.
yeah, but the wait to even get that seems like even harder than getting a brand new shoe release or getting a brand new gaming system around this Christmas time because I know people who are trying to get the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X. Yeah, I'd rather wait because trying to get the virtual online thing is a headache in and of itself. And then waiting to go on to the campus, I can wait a month or two before I
Yeah,
go because 6 hours.
yeah. And got a comment. Is there only one ride now? Yes, there's only one ride. They are supposed to put an Avengers ride where the Avengers building is now, but I don't know when that's going to be coming in. Hopefully in the next couple years, and we don't have to wait 10 years till they put a new ride. But see, here's the thing. Like I'm curious to see what that ride is like. I've seen the videos already because for me, a ride doesn't spoil if I see videos. And I've been to the Spider-Man attraction at Universal Studios Orlando, and the Spider-Man attraction in Orlando is friggin' amazing. I
Hmm.
love that ride. That is such a fun ride, and I'm just curious what they. I mean, what this one is going to look in comparison, and I know I shouldn't compare, but still. Uh, but we're all talking. But just to let everybody know, who if they're new coming in, we're talking about. We're warming up. We're gonna do a watch party here for Loki, the premiere of Loki tonight. It comes out at midnight, maybe a little sooner, so we're kind of keeping up, making sure it's out. And yeah, hang with us. We're gonna be talking about after the show. We're gonna be really discussing our views on the premiere episode, see what we thought, how our feelings were, and we'll have a discussion about it. Yeah, Spider-Man 3D at Universal was the best. It is. I can't I can't deny that. Now, one thing, like going back into Loki and what we're going to be seeing, they're saying that this one is supposed to continue. It's supposed to link into the movies the closest.
This one?
Yes, this is supposed
Okay.
to complete. It's supposed to link into the movies closer than all the other ones. The other ones were offshoots of what happened. This is supposed to be a continuation. Well, a continuation of what happened after Endgame and really put together what would happen after the film. I think that's what makes me interested in this, and also Owen Wilson being it. I'm kind of curious to see what Owen Wilson's gonna, how his character acts in this whole part. I don't
Hmm.
know about you. What are your thoughts about all
Um,
that?
Owen Wilson he's going to be interesting. I want to see. It's almost like a make or break. Not really a make or break, but it's going to be fairly interesting to see him. And then also with the other shows, I was looking at them, and it's like totalities, not trying to compare them or anything, but looking at WandaVision, looking at Falcon and the Winter Soldier as a whole. I kind of like the way that they were offshoots, because it kind of gave you a sense of, okay, well, a further dive into the blip and how it really took effect on people, and then even after it was all said and done, what's really happening. Because I know in Endgame and stuff, they didn't really, like, they touched on the blip, but it wasn't really like as deep dived. And then the Spider-Man, I'm trying to think of the name of that one.
Far From Home.
Yeah, when he was in Paris, they touched on it a
Yeah,
little bit there as well. But with the offshoot shows, you get to see more. I like, and depending on what it is, I kind of like TV shows better than movies, because they give you more detail if it's done correctly. It gives you more time, more detail to explain a lot of different things, and to really like flush out these characters.
yeah, and that's what I'm looking forward to. I want to see what the shows do and how everything's going. It's just because it's a lot of fun. It really is a lot of fun, and I mean, I don't take them too seriously. I just try and enjoy them. Even though I had my issues with WandaVision, don't get me wrong, I did. And be- but they're all very like Jeffrey says. Like Jeffrey said, the shows are all very different and distinct. So it's really it's their own property. It's their own story within that character. Kind of like a comic book. And
Mm-hmm.
one thing that they just I was just looking through the Twitter to see if anybody else has seen or if it's been posted yet. But Lucky Charms is coming out with their own limited edition Loki Charms box for the release of this. So they say they're mischievously delicious. I'm gonna have to try that out for myself.
If you can get a hands on a box.
But no kidding. Something tells me that.
If you can get your hands on, honestly, I wouldn't bank on getting one.
Oh no, I don't think so. If there was a 6 hour wait to get into Avengers campus, and even today there was a line to get into DCA that stretched out on the Harbor Boulevard side because somebody filmed it, a line snaking around the outside to get ready to get into the park.
Wow.
I'm not getting a Loki Charms anytime soon unless I get up really really early in the morning and push some people and get some cereal.
One thing that, like, not to harp on the pandemic, but one thing that it really like touched on, it really made everybody like super anxious for things to go back to normal and for any little details or for any little bits and pieces of any kind of merchandise or just things that they're like really into. So getting the cereal box, you have to know somebody that works at a specific, like it works at Stater Brothers or Vaughn's or wherever. I mean, depending on where you live, if you live on the East Coast, Publix, and have them almost ship it to you.
I remember I have a story about Publix. When I went to Orlando for the very first time in 2019, I went down there and I was like, Publix? What in the hell's Publix? She's like, oh, it's like a CVS where we live. And I was like, oh, or Rite Aid. I was like, oh, okay. Now I get it. So yeah, but we got to give MUSE TV VIP tickets. Yeah, that would be great. I would love VIP tickets, especially to go into Disneyland and shoot the way we want to shoot instead of doing it guerrilla style. But you know, we just haven't cracked that nut yet. But we got a comic coming up, and that's not a bad idea. I want a Spider-Man 2099 show. That would be interesting. I don't think they're gonna do it anytime soon, but maybe in the future if they have the rights to it. I don't know who owns the right to that. But we got a question for you, Malik. Thoughts on ending of Falcon and the Winter Soldier?
I really liked it. I mean, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was such a great show. Not even from like a comic book or Marvel fan, just from just a regular TV show. It was such a great first season. The ending I thought was pretty good. Trying to remember what exactly happened in the very last episode, besides, of course, Falcon becoming actual Captain America, which we all seen coming. But I really like their view on it. I liked his stance on a lot of things. I liked how the show was slightly political in a way. It made it a better transition because I know a lot of people are diehard Steve Rogers fans, and I know we got to see a bunch of different Captain Americas throughout the entire show with Isaiah Bradley. But yeah, and that's what made that comment right there is what actually makes me think that there has to be a season 2 because we never truly touched on that. Then my thing is, when would we get a season 2? Like, we're going to get the first kind of run through phase 4. Are we going to get like the basis of what we saw supposed to be coming in phase 4 and then we get a season 2? Or is it going to be something that comes next spring? Yet again, like, are they going to roll it right back around? I don't know. I'm kind of intrigued on that.
I don't know because they already said they're going to make a Captain America 4. Oh, okay. Captain America 3? Is it 4? Yeah, 4. I'm like counting. How many films have there been already? They already said they're going to make a Captain America 4. So I don't know when. They're in pre-production of that. They're working on that. They're writing the script. I don't know how they're going to fit that in. That's the thing. I'm just curious how they're going to fit that in. But it's time. Let's see if they put it up yet.
Okay.
Like the beauty of having Apple TV. Nope, not up yet.
No? Okay.
I'm going to do a restart, etc. Get everything ready. Make sure the app comes up and we don't have no issues with Disney Plus, which we shouldn't. Did you see the new thing yesterday that I guess on Apple's press conference you're going to be able to do a watch party through FaceTime, and Disney Plus is on board with that.
I saw that not yesterday. I saw that today. The watch party, you're able to listen to music as a group. You can even share your screen. And then the other one was you can hide your email, or do the hidden email thing. I mean, I don't really care about the hidden email, but the first three I thought were pretty cool. But I want to know: is it just going to the music one? Is it just going to be specifically to Apple Music, or can you do all different types of streaming platforms like Spotify or Tidal?
I know for the sharing thing for FaceTime, I know that it's Apple, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Pluto TV. You'll be able to do it on Pluto TV.
Okay.
So eventually, when what we're working on comes out, people will be able to have a watch party with some of the shows that we're building and creating. But you didn't hear that from me. It may come out. It may be on Pluto TV. I don't know. We're just putting it out there. But but yeah, I mean, it's cool to have that ability, and all it is that you just send somebody the link and you can come in to be a part of it. So I'm curious to see what it's going to be like once it's released in the fall, because it's going to be available in the fall. So we'll see what it's like when it finally comes up. And we got a third person coming in, Jeffrey Harris, co-host of This Week in Pro Wrestling. How are you doing, Jeffrey?
Hello, everyone. I just realized I could now come on to the show. There we go. All right. So, let's see. I don't want to say too much because I've already seen the episodes.
Oh.
So I don't want to color too much of what you guys are about to see. But I hope you guys like it. I think it's very good. I think it's a good start to the series. I am not going to call it like some reviews I think are calling it the best Marvel show yet. Mm-hmm. I don't want to go that far because I've only seen the first 2 episodes. Mm-hmm. And I think WandaVision ended really strong. I think WandaVision started slow. It was a slow burn, and some people had a problem with that. But I think it ended very strong, and I like that they kind of gradually peeled back the layers over the course of that season. I like the way that show told its story over the course of its season. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I think, started very strong, and I think it did have pacing issues over the course of the season. I think it ended somewhat strong, but there was a lot of storytelling decisions I didn't like. This show, I think, does start very well, and we're only getting 1 episode tonight, and I will have started ahead of you, and I will still be a little bit ahead of the rest of the audience by the end of the night. I imagine.
You rub it in, don't you?
Yeah, it's one of the few things I can.
That is true.
I see all my friends who got to go to Avengers campus. You know, it's like I gotta flex a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Well, what if we get into SummerSlam this year? And we can interview a bunch of wrestlers?
I'm thinking about that, and I'm thinking about that, and I will maybe look into who to contact for WWE, and I will ask, but I'm not
holding your breath.
Yeah. Plus,
so are you going to rewatch tonight's episode live with the
rest? You see? Yeah, I'll rewatch it for sure.
Okay.
Are we using an app to rewatch to do this watch thing?
No, not this time. We're just gonna let people just watch with us and go that route.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Well,
it's just easier.
Yeah.
Easier for everybody.
So it still hasn't dropped yet, has it?
No, it still hasn't dropped yet.
Okay. Wow.
So, I mean, was it some of the episodes in the past have come out like 5 minutes before, 10 minutes before? Mm-hmm. This one still hasn't dropped, and that one I'm kind of. It better drop at midnight.
You see, there was a technical issue with my screeners. I don't even know if I should mention this, but Uh, after it airs, I guess I will talk about it. But
Yeah, talk about it after the airing.
I will say, like, what can I? Since we're still waiting, I do think what I do like is that I do feel like all the shows are very distinct and different from one another. Everyone all like, what is the big complaint about the Marvel Cinematic Universe? It's that everything is like similar, like factory made, and feels the same. I feel like all these shows are very unique and they feel very different. This show, I think it gives you a bit of a weird kind of weird, sci-fi literature feel, like sci-fi literature from the 50s and 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it has sort of that look going for it with the TVA. And there's a bit of Douglas Adams, like Hitchhiker. Does anyone know Douglas Adams, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah,
That kind of thing.
I
There's a
think
bit of that. There's a bit of that in here as well, I feel like. But
interesting.
it's all firmly set within the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Yeah.
And it feels I mean, look, Tom Hiddleston has been great as this character since day one. And we first saw him as this character. It's been 10 years. It's been just over 13 months since we first saw Tom Hiddleston as this character in Thor. And he's clearly struck a chord as this character. And audiences are clearly enamored with this character. And to have a storyline set around Tom Hiddleston's Loki, it's challenging, but I feel like this show has an interesting setup for it so far. And I'm curious to see what you guys think of it once we get to this premiere.
Yeah,
I can play it.
Oh, he can play it now. What coast are you on?
Too.
West Coast.
Yeah.
Is it Malik?
Malik. Mm-hmm.
You're on the West Coast?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
Cool.
are we all there now?
Yeah. We're all
Okay.
about to play. Everybody
Okay, here we go.
turn off your cams and mute yourself, and we will be right back after the episode. We're still waiting for everybody else to jump back on, but I just finished the episode. And
Hello.
hey, Jeffrey, how are you doing? And we're just
Let me
waiting
get
for
my headphones on.
no problem.
So a good length, kind of like with credits, kind of just at that kind of like 51-minute mark, I think.
Yeah, and I like the way the story starts in this one.
Yeah, me too.
Malik, let's go. Let's work our way around. Malik,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts?
On the whole show or just the start?
Whole show.
Whole show. Well, I really like that they had. I'm probably gonna butcher her name. Wunmi Mosaku. I think the main. Her name on the show is Hunter B15.
Yep.
I've seen her in a different show as well. Like I know she was in Lovecraft Country, and I just really love her acting. I think I did great acting in this as well. And then also with Owen Wilson, that was an amazing performance. This show as a whole so far, just the episode, the first episode, I really liked it. I loved the pacing of it. I was glued from the start to the finish. Like I didn't even know that we didn't get the proper intro until about 10 minutes in, where it had like the Loki sign and how it was flipping through. I didn't even notice that, but I thought it was really good.
Jeffrey, since you,
I really like the introduction of the TVA, the Time Variance Agency. I like the stuff with Miss Minutes, voiced by the amazing Tara Strong, and how they kind of ushered us into this sort of new, strange sort of institution, as it were, this sort of extra-dimensional, extraterrestrial institution that almost exists outside of time. It reminds me a bit of Douglas Adams in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, a bit of Doctor Who, and a bit kind of like, literature sci-fi, like the type of sci-fi you read in books and don't really see very much in movies or TV series. Sort of very weird, sort of offbeat kind of a style for the TVA. Owen Wilson to me is the highlight of this show. And the reason I like Owen Wilson's performance as Agent Mobius is I feel he is playing against the usual Owen Wilson type, but he's still bringing that sort of unique Owen Wilson style to the role. And I like that he's this sort of agent and detective and investigator. He's inquisitive. And you see how he dealt with the young girl in what was it, 16th century France. He was very gentle and compassionate, while the other agent was sort of very rough and coarse, and he was very nice to the girl and was treated her very nicely and warmly. I really like that. I think it's interesting because with Tom Hiddleston, this is a bit of a regression for Loki, because this is not Endgame Loki. This is not the Loki we saw die at the beginning of Infinity War. This is the branching Loki we saw in Endgame, who was fresh off the Battle of New York. This is not the Loki who has experienced Thor: The Dark World, Thor Ragnarok, and Infinity War. This is a Loki from before all that. So he's still in the mode of, I'm going to be the God King. I'm going to take over the planets. I'm going to take over the 9 realms. So he has to kind of work through all that. And we see Agent Mobius counseling him on all that. And I think the acting performances are great. I think the TVA is very interesting, the way it's set up, but I do have some misgivings. But yeah, want to hear from you guys too.
for me, I love the episode. I think it's the pacing was great. I think the storytelling was great. They really explain a lot and where he's at in his state of mind going through what he's going through. Love the color palette. The color palette reminds me very much of a Wes Anderson film. And I like the way they did it. And Owen Wilson, I must agree with Jeffrey. Owen Wilson is a standout in this show, especially in this first episode. But the one part that really like grabbed me was the fact that when he's teleporting to different places, well, he's leaving, he's trying to get out, trying to find a way, trying to find a tesseract. And when they open up the door and you see a bunch of infinity stones, he goes, "Oh yeah, we use them as vaporweight." In his face, it's almost to the point where when he sees his life, he's like looking at it and like wondering, like, it's almost like I did this all for what?
That was the one part I didn't like, though.
You didn't like that one part?
Well, the implication of the fact that in this realm, whatever the TVA is, the fact that the Infinity Stones are powerless trinkets and basically inert to these folks and relatively useless. That doesn't really sit well with me because, like, to me, the Infinity Gauntlet, having read those comics and stories, the Infinity Gauntlet is like the ultimate equalizer. You can wrap reality around your finger with the Infinity Gauntlet. With the Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos was able to topple like the gods of space and time, like the very entities that encompass existence itself were no match for him at all. And to just say, okay, here's the TVA, we're the timekeepers. These are just paperweights to us. That doesn't really sit well with me because I guess the implication is in the MCU you can't make the Infinity Stones and the Infinity Gauntlet too powerful. And I guess they kind of had. I don't like the nerfing of the Infinity Stones, and they've definitely nerfed the Infinity Stones in the MCU, and that kind of just. I'm not saying I hate it, and I'm not going to say I'm like, oh, you ruined it, but it's kind of like, what, really? Like, these are just, they're timekeepers. They, like, maybe they can control time, but can they really do all the things the Infinity Stones can with ease? I just don't know about that. But here's the other side. The other side of that is I do found it interesting that once Loki comes to this realization, he says, "Oh, this is an opportunity for me. This is even more powerful, the Infinity Stones and the Tesseract. I don't need those things. I need the power that the Timekeepers have."
Exactly.
I think there was so much that was said. The fact that we started in the original The Avengers movie, like, because this is the Loki from 2012 from the first Avengers movie. So the fact that he went to this point, and I was even lost. Like, I had to remind myself that this Loki doesn't know what he knows throughout the rest of the movies because he hasn't experienced that yet. And then to go to the fact of him looking at the Tesseract and looking at the Infinity Stones, to your point, they did nerf it, but I think it's only nerfed in the TVA. So I think it's like I think Marvel.
My point is they shouldn't be nerfed. They shouldn't be like these, just like, oh, they're just rocks to us. They're just pebbles. They're just paperweights. They shouldn't be that. They shouldn't be like that. They, like, even in the TVA, they would be all consuming and all powerful.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's, of course, Marvel is.
That's just my opinion, though, Malik. That's just this one guy, one comic fan's opinion.
I get you. I completely agree, and I get where you're coming from, and that's why, like, Marvel, as far as the comics to the movies and the shows, they're always going to find that, like, how can we make things different, and I guess kind of like push people's buttons, but kind of like push the envelope forward, kind of push the edge and make it to where we're going to make this similar, but also different in a major way. And I think the fact that this Loki is going to, I mean, he's essentially trying to fight himself, but fight himself in a version that has exceeded Infinity Stones, kind of, in a way. Like, he learned the ultimate version of the TVA and time traveling and how to properly assess that. And so now he's in a sense. I mean, the way that they're setting it up in the first episode, I know because we haven't watched the rest of them. This Loki from 2012 is fighting some other Loki, and now we're in this weird battle of how strong can that other Loki be? And if the Infinity Stones and Tesseract were just paperweights as far as they're concerned, then what does this Loki know? And how is he just killing people off who are supposed to be these ultimate guardians?
How dare you put that premise forward, Malik? Nerd war. Nerd war. I declare nerd war. I'm just kidding.
No, because that's what throws me off a
Mhm.
little bit, because because we don't know, like, I guess they don't really tell what the other Loki yet, how
Right.
that happened, how that happened yet, and that throws me off a little bit. And that's why, like, when I see that one part, it really, it's very powerful, and you see that thing, like, and that's exactly like I said, that you got the power of the time. I think I get where Marvel wants to go with it, and I don't think it's right or wrong about the stones. I just feel like, I think when you do that and you put the most powerful thing so early, what do you do next?
Exactly.
And
I
that's the
feel
question
like
I
we
have.
they set up the timekeepers. We never see these timekeepers. We need to see them, and we need to fully see the timekeepers later on in
Yeah.
this season.
Mhm.
If they do with the timekeepers what they did with the Supreme Intelligence and Captain Marvel, that would not be a satisfying payoff.
Yeah.
You need to. We're gonna need to see something happen with the timekeepers at some point, and they need to.
Yeah.
They need to be in their full glory, and they need to be weird and alien and cool looking.
Yeah.
And they need to look. They need to have really great visuals and/or costumes. But and what I mean with the Supreme Intelligence is we never saw the real Supreme Intelligence in Captain Marvel, and that was a letdown. And I think to really drive home Captain Marvel, we needed to see what was that character? Jan Rog. We needed to see him go back to Hala and be put in for it. To me, the perfect ending would have been seeing Jan Rog be put in front of the actual real Supreme Intelligence, which is the giant head, the giant head in a jar,
Yeah.
basically, and be like, "You messed up, Jan Rog, and like we got to deal with this." Whatever. But we needed to see this like really just awe-inspiring, crazy, weird thing, and not just the avatar of the Supreme Intelligence. And if they do that for this show, after they do all that setup for the timekeepers and how powerful and mystical they are, it will not be good.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I'm holding back on saying this is like the greatest Marvel show ever.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that after the first episode. Like, is it a good episode? Yes. Is it the best Marvel show ever? I can't say that yet. I'm not like other people who are just gonna throw it out there. Oh, this is the best show ever. It's like, I have to see the full body of work on this show,
And I've still seen more than you guys.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's
Flex,
also,
flex, hashtag flex.
but it also sets up a precedent of like where exactly is Marvel going with this phase? Because I thought when I saw Scarlet Witch, like at the very end of WandaVision, and we saw Wanda really truly becoming Scarlet Witch, I was freaking out because like Scarlet Witch is one of those things. It's like almost like one of those myths that you hear about in Marvel because she was just this all-knowing, so powerful being, and then now we get Internals, and the way that the way I heard about the rumors of Internals, how they knew everything and they just didn't care, and all of that aspect to it, and now we're going to this and how the timekeepers and the jumping through it makes everything in Infinity War and Endgame look like child's play almost. That's how I feel like they're trying to set it up, and I don't know if they can keep that same level of anticipation and that same level of power going and make it work, if that makes any sense. Like I'm a little concerned on that aspect.
The other major introduction in this episode was and I apologize if I don't get this name right. Gugu Mbatha-Raw.
Yeah.
Is there a better way to say her? Is that the correct way to say her name?
I think that's how you say her name.
Mhm.
She
Okay.
was the
Judge,
right? Okay.
Judge Ravonna Renslayer. And if people Google that name, this is a character with a very significant history in the comics.
That is true.
Judge Ravonna, or I guess Ravonna Renslayer in the comics, was the spouse and lover of the Avengers villain Kang the Conqueror.
Mhm.
And we do know that Kang the Conqueror has been cast in the upcoming Ant-Man and the Wasp sequel. So it's likely that character will be introduced in future movies, or will be showcased in future movies, possibly as an Avengers villain. So I guess who would be the next big bad for the Avengers after Thanos? It would likely be Kang the Conqueror.
Yeah.
Who is a big villain from the comics.
And then the person that they hired, the person that they cast to play Kang the Conqueror, I love. I'm trying to think. David Majors. I'm trying to remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah, because he's from Lovecraft, isn't he?
He's from Lovecraft. He's also from
Jonathan Majors, and
Majors.
He's reportedly been cast as Kang for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. Jonathan Majors.
I love his acting. I've also watched him. He's did really good in The Five Bloods, the Spike Lee movie that came out on Netflix. So I'm excited, but then again, I have Marvel has the. I don't want to be disappointed. Is basically what I'm trying to say. I don't want this to set up and then we get to this level of power and then we digress all the way back down to basic Earthling powers per se. If that makes any sense.
I don't. Well, you mean street level?
Like street level. Like if like they're setting it up, and I understand that this is something that could play into years into the future, but still, the way
do you mean the types of villains they're fighting?
That the types of villains, and then just the way that everything was flipped upside down on its head, like how you were saying with the Infinity Stones. I just when you do that, you kind of have to keep it on the same, not through all the movies and through all the shows, but I'm just saying there has to be something. Like you have to do that with a purpose. And
we'll see. I mean, Kang is a pretty major threat and villain.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they characterize Kang and what they do with him in the movies going forward.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now, for me, I'm just like, okay, where are we going with all this? Because I'm still like, I'm like, it throws me like, okay, where is Marvel going with all this Phase 4?
I try not to worry about where they're going. I think you get into a trap when you try to theorize when you try to get ahead of the show. I think that was a big problem with WandaVision because everyone was sort of like, "Oh, does this mean we're going to see an aeronautics engineer? Are we going to see Reed Richards, that kind of thing? Are we going to see Mephisto?"
Yeah, and that kind of killed it for me. That really killed it for me.
Okay, all right.
Speculation beforehand.
All right, so I'm not going to speculate. I'm just okay. I have an idea. Like Mobius has given Loki a reprieve. Mobius wants Loki's help to deal with another variant Loki, a different Loki that is killing the other Timekeeper agents of the TVA. So I'm just going to sit back and watch and see what they do with that, what they're doing with the TVA, and not really worry too much about, okay. Now, yes, we did get to meet Ravonna, and we do know Ravonna is an important character as her relation to Kang. But right now we just know her as the judge of the TVA.
Exactly.
So I'm not too worried about where they're going for the MCU. Let's just see. Let's just see what happens, and I'll worry more about like the bigger implications later.
That's fair. That's fair.
Fair. Okay.
That's fair because it's because I like me. I'm always trying to piece up. Just because it's me being the owner of this company, I always have to look 2 steps ahead before I move 1 step forward. So I get into that trap sometimes. So so it kind of like
Like I really wanted to see like a Mephisto or a Shuma Gorath in WandaVision, where I think it might have been a good time to introduce those characters, but they stuck the you know the end villain was Agatha, and Agatha was a good character, and who was the actress as Agatha Harkness?
um
Her name's on the tip of my tongue.
Oh, God, I can't. Catherine Hahn, great. She
Catherine
was
Hahn.
tremendous. She was tremendous award-winning performance. So, you know, I try not to get too fixated on what I think they should do and what I want them to do. But yeah,
It's just like I get nerded out and I get excited, especially when they give us something so great like this, and then I subconsciously get my hopes up for something incredible. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but I'm just saying I put it so high, and I don't want to do that, especially not with this show.
My favorite scene of the episode was when Mobius is interrogating Loki and sort of showing him sort of the greatest hits of his life.
Yeah.
That was a good scene. And then right after, when Loki goes back to that room and he sees all the things that are supposed to happen to him if he gets put back in the time stream.
Yeah.
And sort of what happened to the Loki throughout the MCU later on, and what would technically await him.
Yeah.
It wasn't even, for me, that was my favorite like thing, but it wasn't necessarily the showing him his life. It was more so cutting through Loki's dry humor and sarcasm with just factual evidence.
Yeah, like do you enjoy hurting people? No, I don't really. And then he's like, no, I don't enjoy hurting people. I'm just trying to instill fear, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
All that was very interesting to me.
The writing for me in those kind of in the dialogue for that was what really encapsulated me, because I was just like, there's nothing you can do with somebody that knows the beginning, middle, and end of your life.
That is true. Well, for me, I was just looking at Owen Wilson's nose again and go every time I see him in anything, I'm just like, dude, what did you do to break your nose? Like
I like that though. It's his thing, and it's his it's like his trademark.
Yeah,
and he's
exactly. It's his thing.
You know, maybe some actors would have gotten that fixed, but he doesn't, and I respect that. You know,
yeah, same here. That's why, like, it gives him character, and when it adds to the characters that he plays.
Even from me being a kid watching him, it was always the dent in his nose and how like insinuated it was, and then noticing that it was broken. But I do like that. But I do follow you, Mike, and I just kind of happen to stare at it. Like I have to stop myself from just staring.
Yeah, it happens in every film. But see, he plays it. He doesn't like. That's the best way to put it. You don't know. I notice it because it's been something that I've noticed for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But when he's playing a character, it really does form. I mean, it's stupid that we're talking about his nose, but it fits into what he does. You know, it kind of fits in and it gives a character, and it kind of adds to the characters that he plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like you feel like, oh yeah, like with him in this role, like he's been around, he's seen a lot of things, he's been through a lot of situations, which wears on his face, and you see that, and you see the gray hair, which shows a signal of time. Even though that's kind of weird because if time moves differently there, how old is this guy?
That's another thing. I kind of want to know.
I don't even think I don't think the TVA agents are human.
Yeah,
I think there's something else entirely.
I think they kind of hinted at that. I think
Mhm.
they said it earlier how he was created to be an agent instead of like being born like humans. He was created. So
The people in the TVA were created by the time agents, apparently. Something like that.
It's interesting. I'm looking for how many episodes are in this series?
Six episodes.
There's 6 episodes. So they're
So,
gonna
yeah.
be. So it's like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, somewhat, or 2 episodes short, I believe.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. It's already caught me. I'm looking forward to seeing next week's. Before.
Okay. So here was my technical issue.
Oh, okay.
The review screener I had, and this has been a recurring thing. There was this weird skipping issue, and I don't know what it was, but like intermittently, like the dialogue in the video would just like skip, and I would miss like snippets of dialogue. And I don't know if that was sort of like a piracy thing, like if they're trying to do something to mark the screeners for piracy or not, but that just weirded me out. And it did and it was annoying because like I'm trying to absorb and get immersed in this show.
Yeah, I actually had that happen to me for Wonder Woman 1984. And I just recently saw it again this weekend when it was on HBO. And those skips that I saw when I got the press screener, were in the movie.
I got that.
And I have another friend who noticed this too, and I got the screeners for the Bad Batch. It was in there too, but like when I watch them on Disney Plus, they're not there. So I wonder if it's an error in the screener form. I don't know, but it really annoyed me.
It could be a piracy thing as well.
I got that for City of Lies. When I was watching the screener of City of Lies, that was one of the undercover agents when they after the car crash incident. There was like a huge jump. It wasn't just like a dialogue. It was like a jump in a gap.
So I wonder if they're putting these little gaps to kind of like as like a piracy marker to like know these are the screener versions. Like they've been altered because they're the screener versions, and in case someone steals, I don't know.
To be honest,
steals them.
That's something I would do. Because with the way things are nowadays, you'll be able. It's easier to track if you have that variant of the film.
Right. Exactly.
But it does freak me out. It does freak me out because I have been given priority access to these things, and I take that very seriously. But I don't want my information hacked or something. Like if someone were to somehow hack into my personal accounts, that would be I'd be up the creek,
Exactly. And I think that was what an occurrence that happened during the pandemic was that there were a lot of movies that were being pirated from screeners. So I think by doing it this way, at least there's a way of tracking it.
I think you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's just a safety protocol for now. Until once the things start opening up again and we start going back to theaters. And
the other thing is when I watch my screener, it's watermarked with my name and date too.
Yeah, that's so or an IP address.
So want to keep those under lock and key.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, definitely.
But luckily next week I get to go to my first screener, an actual person in person. So I'm actually looking forward to that.
So Michael and Malik, tell me what you thought about like the visualization, the depiction of the TVA itself as sort of like the setting and the look of the TVA.
It gave me I love the colors that were used throughout the entire episode. I think visually the episode looked really good. But the TVA itself, like when Loki was looking out, it gave you, of course, futuristic. You can't really put a date on it when it happens in the future because everything's flying and he's like, this doesn't look real. But the actual TVA itself, like inside of the certain like buildings and everything, it gave me very 80-ish you're in City Hall, courthouse, kind of like cubicle vibes.
Like a government bureaucracy or something.
Exactly, but like a government bureaucracy that was like trapped in time. Because a lot of the like old colors that they used back in the day is what it looked like in the TVA, if that makes any sense. Like the very orangish looking colors and the dull, bland, like dried out, bland colors, but still trying to make things pop, kind of.
For me, first of all, I'm just gonna say 80-ish. I'm already like, dude, how old do you think?
It looked kind of 50s and 60s to me, actually.
That's me. I thought it was more of a 50-60 style, similar to Dragnet. Even as funny as Get Smart, and what those offices were.
Okay.
And how they were depicted in the 50s and 60s on these shows. A very cold, very metally desk type of atmosphere. White
utilitarian.
Yeah, exactly. And I felt that's I thought it was a great vibe because it kind of really showed.
But still, somewhat of a weird alien touch to it all.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you had weird things like that cat.
Mm-hmm.
Like the guy had his cat in his office, and then the dwarf, and then you have the little you have the agents who are disintegrating people, and then you have the statues of the timekeepers, sort of. The timekeepers definitely seem to appreciate the worship. They seem to see themselves as sort of like all-knowing religious figures. Almost, it's almost like they're gods.
Yeah. And see,
in a way.
Gets me,
and that's what Loki wants.
And see, and this is what gets me every time whenever I see something like that, and I pick out stuff where we don't have that access anymore with Disney to interview a director or a producer to go into that, because that's what I would like to know. Mm-hmm. How much of an influence when putting this together in that particular scene was it from old television shows? What was it? Because you could see those references. Was him dropping after he passes through the elevator door an homage to Get Smart?
Mm-hmm.
And those are things that I see and I pick up. Even Dragnet, or even different cop shows that happened during the time. And that's one the questions I would like to know, because it really does play a story. It plays a big part into the story and who these people are.
Now that you guys mention it, I do see it as that. It's not the 80s. It is late. I got my
It's retro. It's retro.
It's super
retro. And 80s is retro too. So it's not like,
Hey.
I got what you were saying.
Hey.
I was trying to correct you politely.
I was a kid at the time. Hey.
I was trying to correct you politely, Malik.
No, but yeah, it makes sense. But I mean, hey,
But yeah, it's kind of retro.
Yeah.
It's like before. It's before. It doesn't look like a modern office. It's sort of a retro style office.
Pre-70s.
Yeah.
My very last point in question: when they do actually hit people with the cattle prod kind of gun thing, where exactly do they go? Because we don't see it. Do they disappear from existence, from all time and place, like all variants of them, or do they just go back to a different like time and variant? If you know, don't say anything.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. I just to me, I just got the sense. Okay, that guy talked back. That guy was sassing the guard. He got vaporized. He's dead. He's gone. Loki does not want to do that. I got my number. I'm in the queue. I do not want to repeat what that guy just did. That was the sense I got.
Exactly, and that's what
I guess don't mess around with the TVA. They will obliterate you
out of any timeline.
Quite literally.
Just out of every timeline? Okay.
That I don't know. You see, like the time. Here's the thing. All the greater the time travel, time branching stuff, it confuses me. So I have no idea.
Yeah.
So what I try not to overthink all the timeline branching. I assume it was just that version of whoever that guy was or whoever's there.
Yeah, but to close today's show, final thought. Let's start with Jeffrey. Final thought for you.
I think this is a solid start. The standouts of the show are definitely Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson. I love their chemistry. I love the rapport, and so far that's the highlight of this show for me.
Cool. Malik?
Yes, definitely that. And then also the two women in the show, I think they played their roles really well. I think it's good. I just don't want to overthink it as my final thought. I want to tell myself not to overthink the show before the next episode or before anything else happens.
First of all, to end this, 80s is not retro.
Retro.
but in all honesty, the show's really good. I like the way it's shot. I like the way the story was and the pacing and the really getting you to know what's going on. And I like that. I like knowing in the story where we're going and what was being built, and we're not giving too much away. And that's what I like. I like to be like, okay, I see the end. I want to see what happens next episode. I'm waiting for next episode. And that's what I love. I love good storytelling where it keeps you enticed to be able to come back for next week to watch it. And I hope everybody comes back with us when we see the next episode 2 on the next time we're back. Let's start the roundtable. Jeffrey, where could they find you? Drop your socials.
You can find me, the J to the E to the double F free, on Twitter at WillJack83.
Malik?
You can find me I can never get this thing right here at Malik on Ox. I'm going to stop pointing. You can find me right there at Malik on Ox on Twitter, Instagram, and then just Malik Patterson on any other social networking site.
Yeah, after 2 episodes and you still 2 shows, I mean, we still can't get the pointing right.
No, not really. I'm just gonna stop pointing.
Yeah, might as well. And you can find me here on MUSE TV. We have some great stuff coming up. Please stay tuned. And if you like this, please hit your thumbs up, subscribe. Also, if you want to find out what's coming up next, hit that bell notification because we have This Week in Pro Wrestling coming up later on this week. We have one of our newest reporters here on Muse, Caitlin's going to be interviewing a documentary subject on Friday, and we're going to have that up next week. And we have the next episode of Loki coming next week, so we'll be here for that as well. So thank you so much for spending this time with us. It's a first watch party / after show, so we really appreciate it. Come back. Hopefully Jeffrey will be a part of this next week. Because here we actually have a good discussion.
Now that I know about it, yeah. You guys will have me. Thank you.
It was a last minute type of thing, and we have good discussions. It's not a fighting, and we don't yell at each other. It's our love for film, our love for television, and that's what we want to translate to you as well. And hopefully you come and visit us and see you next week. So thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time on the Loki watch party / after show, whatever we're gonna call it. So see you soon.